waiting for Susantha to prepare for the presentation. So Susantha, you make us your voice first?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, very good. So what are you going to bring in the sessions? What kind of what are the experience that you bring to the audience?
I think today's session, I'm trying to first of all help everyone to understand what is the reality at the moment, the going on situation under the COVID, and then from based on my experience, how we help a couple of customers for the past actually I would say 2 months time period. Some of the challenges they faced and how we help them, and then the experience we found out. And like lack of preparation and the challenges they face and how we address them to a certain extent. And then the information that I found out, what is more we can do. So I really want to share, and then the same time from the Microsoft solution perspective, I really want to talk about how and what kind of tools we have and when we should be using them at what scenarios. So it's going to be more like a collaborative of all the sessions what we have discussed so far. Some of them I'm going to minimize repeating them and try to talk about more of the things what they have missed. And then for the business perspective, I'm trying to balance from the business owner perspective and the employee perspective. Both I'm trying to cover. It's kind of like a balanced session.
Excellent. Yeah. I hope it's very, very interesting for the audience. I think this is going to be interesting closing sessions for today.
Can everyone see my screen by now already?
Yes.
Okay.
We will wait for a couple of minutes for the folks to join in. So we'll start at 13:10, right? In about 7 minutes. Susantha, if you want to start early, also possible up to you. Just let me know.
Can you start now?
Okay. I think you may start. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hello, everyone.
You
Welcome to
share
the.
your screen?
Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Let me share the screen again. Give me 1 second. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Global Azure Bootcamp. So I think I'm the last person holding you all. So with that said, my topic is actually talk about how and we should prepare to secure the environment for remote workers. So this is I'm going to talk about from both the company perspective and then the remote workers perspective. Try to balance both parties' problems. So being said that, my name is Susantha Silva, and I'm working as a principal consultant for Infant Consulting Group company. So very high level, been there for like 20 years in the industry, and then been played the role of the MVP also for like 7 years time, and then still an actual MCT conducting trainings, and then some of the key achievement I did actually during that time was we did the first cloud adoption for the DR in Sri Lanka environment for VMware and Hyper-V. That was one of the unique project we did. Apart from that, still we are keep on helping the customers to adapt into the hybrid environment, and for some customers, fully going on to the cloud environment. So been covering the in pretty much on the APAC region most of the time, and apart from that, randomly keep on providing solutions for USA. So that's a little bit about me. So coming back to our agenda, I really want to talk about in this session more about understanding the current situation. We all need to know before we jump into any solution where we are at the moment and what we should be expecting for the future. So based on that, actually, we have to be prepared. And then moving forward, what would be the challenges for both business and the end user's perspective from when you're trying to do working from home scenarios? And even if you are, let's say, we think about even if the scenario is over, but still working from home scenario, there will be certain permanent changes can happen. So how the business should focus and adapt the technology based on that, or let's say embrace the technology based on that. And then what are the possible solutions to address these problems? I'll try to share what some of the examples we have done for the customers. And then I also try to expect some of the questions from your side. What are the other problems you might be able to see so we can have a collaborative chat? So being said that, understanding the current situation, so these are some of them are based on my opinions. So it can be slightly differ from what you believe. So I believe like the current situation is not going to be a short-term problem of what we are going through right now. Its impact will be for a little bit more time will be ahead. So there will be some ripple effect as well. So everyone will be affected one way or another in this scenario. So, and the other thing is working from home is not going to be common to most of the workers and business. What I try to mean by that one is it's a very short time period. We all have to adapt to a quick change. So this is not a welcome situation for most of the users if you are not being used to work from home previously. And as all like human beings, it's not easy to get adapted to changes within very short time period because our evolution happened for a long time and then suddenly this is a very drastic change. So there will be some repercussions. And we said that it's not been a choice also for us. So that in that context, when the business and the workers or employees try to adapt in this situation, I believe like there are certain thought has to be given from both parties. One important thing I believe is we need to be able to measure everything on result base rather than, like example, you used to go 9 to 5 job, or maybe some of us are not being in that category. We are 24/7 sometimes. But we said that if you have been in that situation, like now you are working from home. So it's rather better to measure all of us based on the result rather than asking, are you in front of the computer? Are you working 9 to 5? That culture will be gone away for some of us, because some of us we are okay, but majority they need to understand from the business perspective. And the other thing is the empathy. So I believe like empathy has to be gone towards for everyone in this kind of scenario. We need to understand working from home is not the ideal as we expect, just to show the scenario. So some of us, maybe entrepreneurs or maybe who has been working from home, there's no difference for them. This is okay, fine. I'm used to for this scenario. And then we see some nice Microsoft Teams chat. People are always smiling and always happy about the conversation. Good. But again, the reality for majority of the workers, life could be like this. And if you're having children, you will know what I'm talking about in this scenario, including myself. So here the scenarios you will be seeing sometimes, it's pretty tough, and sometimes it will be really tough for you to get adjusted for this scenario for some time ahead. So being said that, we need to accept this is the reality of working from home scenario. For some of you, it might be ideal. For some of you, it will be really tough. It will need a little bit of more time to get adjusted. So what that means is we need to understand how we should be doing the measuring. And then that's why I mentioned we need to have the sympathy towards everyone. So being said that, if I'm coming back for the challenges from the technical point of view on this session, if I look at it from working from home for both business and end user perspective. So for, let's say, from the business owner perspective, they might be having the challenge of how should I protect my data and application? Because previously everyone used to come to my office and I used to have certain antivirus firewall and I'm pretty safe. That's what they were thinking, pretty safe. But now suddenly everyone has to work from remotely. So how should I address that problem? And then how should I provide the anyway access to security my environment? Is the VPN is the ideal scenario in this situation? Will it resolve all my problems? And then some business, what we found out during our support scenarios, consultation engagement, they have legacy application. So what should I do with my legacy application in this working from home scenario? How can I give the access? And the worst scenario is how to look after the data center. Despite of having the system administrator, the remote access, what if the remote access scenario goes off and then there was a hardware failure and then you have to replace the, let's say maybe the server or the hard disk? How should I address those problems? Then during that downtime, what kind of impact it will be for my business? And top of all those things, the cyber attacks. It's keep on innovating and keep on increasing. So if that happens, how should I recover my environment quickly? So these are some of the burning questions that we have seen when you're having the conversation with the customers. On the other hand, for the employee perspective, remote worker perspective, so they have concern when these things happen suddenly, how to access my company applications to do my day-to-day job. And I didn't have a computer given for my office. So I'm using my home computer to do the office work. So how should I get access? And this problem goes both ways, because during this time, then the employers also have concern how secure is those remote computers or used by the employees, because it can be Windows XP or it can be Mac OS or even, who knows, it can be a Linux desktop they were using. So how should we access those applications, or what would be the security concern for me? And the other thing is well-known scenario. I save my passwords, and or maybe I have written down it in my office environment. Now I don't remember that one. So can happen commonly, or maybe because you are totally depending on a username and password scenario, working from home, it might bring some difficult situation for you all. And on top of that one, we know like the cyber attacks and then the cyber crimes can happen in variation methods. So it can be targeted for the entire data centers, or it can be the end users. So example, I mentioned like, oh, I got an email saying I won $1 million lottery. So these kind of phishing scams keep on crafted very well for a less extent suspecting and keep on lurking in the environment. So these are the problems. Some of them you can see as new. Some of them you can see it's always been there for me, but now the severity of that problem is becoming very high. Feel free to think about the other problems that you can think of and put it to the chat window if you have a concern on that area. So being said that, I try to address quickly on this presentation slide deck how we should approach. The solution, as I said, there can be various solutions, but I'm trying to be focused on to a certain extent from Microsoft solution perspective. So protecting the identity, the username and credentials. So we strongly believe from IT security point of view, the username and password is no longer secure. So you might be heard about this one most of the time in public sessions, on security sessions. So we talk about in this situation enabling the multi-factor authentication, and then now we are going a little bit ahead of multi-factor authentication. We bring a technology called conditional access policies based on a certain condition. Example, let's say if employee is working from this particular IP address range, then allowed to access this particular application. If he's not, lock that one. If he's connecting from, let's say, from Singapore only, it's okay. If you go for another country range, then try to prevent or maybe scale down his access limitations. So we are trying to craft the security also a little bit more advanced level. And top of that one, Microsoft Azure AD playing a major role on the identity management. And then I'll try to demo. There are some tools also being given to find out what is the current status of your identity, or if there's any attacks happening, from where, what kind of scenarios happening. So you need to have those tools within us. And then when it comes to the secure remote access, bear with me one second. So secure remote access, this is one of the major concern came up recently based on the previous question that I raised. Now, if the employees or maybe the remote workers are working from their personal PC, we still have a concern about the data and the application security and then availability for them, because we can't keep on going and installing application to their machines and asking them to access the data, and then we can't expect the security to be the highest level. So in this scenario, we are trying to bring to the picture Microsoft VDI, Windows, or we call the latest name called Windows Virtual Desktop. And under that one, there are two categories. We can do the desktop as it is, or the application publishing part. I'll talk about in a quick demo in that area. And then about the protecting and managing the company applications. We want to have the tight control. It's not about sometimes end users device management, but more or less how
Son? Susantha, you're losing your audio.
Hi.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really sorry about that one. I think the entire PC went busted off. Okay, can you all see my screen again?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, we can.
Apologize about that situation. I think that's the working from home situation reality. Okay, so I was talking about the challenges and this solution approach. So in the last where I was actually talking about how to protect the company data and then the applications and even devices. So this is one of the scenario. Let's assuming you some. This is one of the great question that I got from one of the customers, an enterprise company. In that situation, we were trying to go and control the end users' personal devices as well using Intune. But that particular CIO's main question was, why should I go and protect or control the end user's devices? It's not my device, and I'm violating the rules. I only care about my company's application and the data. I only want to protect that one and let them access from any device as long as we have the policies defined properly. So this is what actually in Intune we try to introduce the main feature, mobile application management, rather than configuring or managing the device into deep down level. But then, of course, if the device is given by the organization, you have the authority or the rights to go ahead and do deep level device management as well. But here I'm trying to explain more or less we should be focused on data and the application protection. So this is where the Intune will come to the picture. And then the biggest challenge, which was even before the COVID situation was there, is how should I protect my intellectual property? It can be single Excel file for some organization where all the data is there, or it can be a Word or Excel file, or maybe any other type of document. If that goes to a wrong hand, there will be negative repercussions on their business or revenue, or maybe entire business will be impacted. So this is what where even this problem comes much more higher level concern. When we are working from home, we don't know what will be the situation going on. It's no longer within the secure castle mode. So that's why we talk about Azure information protection, how to protect your documents. So even if it go to the wrong hand, assuming all that the breach happened, so we still have the control that the remote party will not be able to read that one. So I'll try to show very high level how that function. And then if you are still on the on-premise data centers, now it's very high level time to think about what would I do in case my local data center goes down. So this is ideal scenario to think about bringing backup to the cloud and implementing the DR solution to Azure data center. I had a very good example day before yesterday. We had a customer whom we have requested to have the backup to the cloud, but he was believing having the backup to a NAS drive is more than enough because we have the local data and then I have the data on my NAS drive and I don't trust cloud security. But what happened is actually for some reason, a very unfortunate reason, the power fluctuation happened and the both server for lucky reason server was saved, but then the disk are corrupted, the data is corrupted, and despite of having RAID, the NAS device is also destroyed. So it's like 10 years of data is being completely lost. So this is ideal scenarios we need to understand why we should be having third location backup, and the cloud will become the ideal scenario. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, the crafting method of having emails being crafted for phishing and spamming is keep on going on. It's happening very high level. So it's important for us to think about how we protect them. So this way actually under O365 ATP come to the picture. And in the last and not the least, actually, this was covered by a couple of the colleagues who took conversation or sessions before me, understanding the security attacks and then responding them to quickly. That's very important, responding very quickly, because otherwise the security breach will be very much costly for your organization. So in this situation, I'm going to talk about from data center perspective, Microsoft Azure Security Center, and then finally from the having the vicinity perspective, cloud app security based on the time. So from the solution perspective, how Microsoft approach on this very quickly I'll tell it's Microsoft 365. They renamed that one again. So Microsoft 365 have two categories. I'm not going to talk about this one because I'll give the links on the slide deck, and even you can do the search on that one by going to Bing. So being said that, let me take scenarios, some of them important scenarios. One is the Windows Virtual Desktop, now previously or known as VDI. Why it was not adapted as much as expected by Microsoft or even the industry? Because of the middle pane, what you can see. Because managing a VDI environment and acquiring the hardware is very costly, or we call the capex. Initial investment is very high. You need to have very high speed disk and a very good network connectivity, and then properly fine tune. If these things didn't happen, VDI is not a successful project. So what Microsoft did under this solution, they took away that pain point, the middle pane from you, and put it to their data center. So what you have to do is the last part on the right-hand side. You have to create the images, custom images, or you can bring your, you can create your own images and bring to the Azure, or you can use the Microsoft given images on the Azure data center and then plug in your applications and integrate with your local Active Directory, plus recently now supported Azure Active Directory integration as well. And then from the far left hand side, you can actually access this particular environment either from Apple, Mac OS, Android environment, or Windows environment, any device. So it can be web HTML5 supported, web interface, or you can download the client as well. So let me try to demo that environment. Due to the what happened to my PC, all the saved links has been really gone. So let me try to see if I can demo that one quickly for you all. So it's a web base, as I mentioned. Once I log into the environment, this is something I noticed. Bear with that random disconnection, because I noticed like from a couple of days back, this is happening recently. I believe there's a high demand of access going on to the Azure data centers. So being said that, so this is the console you are getting. Based on the way you configure, you can get a Windows Virtual Desktop. That means entire Windows 10 or Windows 7 desktop, you can get it to your machine as it is. So this experience would make sense in a business scenario where if you believe the end users devices are not secure and you really wanted to give secure access, then this would be the ideal scenario. Okay. And why this is really makes sense, because in the back end, this is actually getting integrated with your Office 365 environment. So if I open any application, the data can be saved directly to the SharePoint or maybe to your personal OneDrive. Sorry, I opened wrong application. Outlook is not the ideal one to show you at the moment. So if I go ahead with particular opening the MS Word application, and if I go to, let's say, save as, this is the option that I want to show you. It is integrated with your SharePoint and OneDrive. If you really want, you can integrate with a local storage or to your local machine. So this experience is seamless. Once you set it up, saying go to full screen, and then it's like you are sitting in front of your computer and doing that one. Only difference is it's a remote computer. And the other scenario is, let me see if I can demo also that one very, very quickly. If I sign out from this environment and try to log in back with a different user account, thinking the scenario, let's say I want to demo application only. So the expectation is you might don't want to give the entire desktop to the end users. Maybe the application you want to publish. So in that case scenario, you can publish both application pool and the desktop pool separately. So if the internet load actually properly in my machine, you will be able to see the particular icons. So what in this scenario happens is you are getting the application loaded to your machine rather than the entire virtual desktop. So based on your scenarios of your environment, you can give securely the application published, the latest application under in this scenario under Microsoft 365, and give to the end user despite of their operating system running in the background. I just tested that one on the Linux platform as well. As long as the browser supported, this will load properly. So macOS anyway supported, Android fully supported, Windows 10, I believe it will be fully supported anyway. So this is one of the ideal scenario in this current context. I would see when you want to give secure access to your applications and data. And recently, what Microsoft did, one technical thing to talk about on the lower right-hand side, you can see FS Logic's profile file server. One of the important thing when you are hosting WVD solutions is the profile management. So they went with a third-party acquired product and FS Logics. So FS Logic is the solution which is working in the back-end to do the management of your user profiles. So when the Windows Virtual Desktop load, the saved profile will be also combined and loaded to that particular machine. When you close the session, that profile will be taken out and it will be saved onto the FS Logics, actually that technology, and it will be saved onto a file server. And the second solution, which I really find very useful, is about the information protection. So in this current context, again, as I mentioned, we want to make sure our utmost important intellectual property documents should be protected from within and outside attacks. So if you really believe the attacks are coming outside, it is not. It can happen both ways. And we want to make sure the relevant parties are given access. And if this document leaked, you want to make sure that the remote party won't be able to read that one. So being said that, again, let me take a quick demo for that one. What I did in advance, I created a demo document on this scenario called AIP demo. If I open that one, if you already pre-configured your environment with Azure Information Protection, then what will happen is you will be able to see a ribbon. Let me show that one by going for a new document. So if I open a blank document, and if the Azure Information Protection audits deployed properly, you will be able to see a button like this, a ribbon. In this ribbon, you have a couple of buttons which you can customize based on your environment preferences. So example, if I set this one internal, only the internal employees in your organization would be able to read that one. But if I say confidential, it will also put a watermark, and I can predefine who are the people really can read this document. So in my demo setup, I already set up such a document and gave it as internal the label. And just to show in the backend, I already shared this document with a couple of people and want to show how we can monitor who has access to this document. If I right click this document and go to classify and protect scenario, and then in the view permissions, I can see what are the permissions that I have given for the internal users. So this person, it will show who is the person document owner and the protection type and what are the permission given, which I can customize in this window. But important thing I want to demo for you all is the track and revoke section. So the owner of that document can go and track Is everyone audible for me? Can anyone hear me?
Yep.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was trying to demo that document protection part. So let me log into my user account and show properties of that protected document. So in this window, you will be able to see who has viewed this user document and how many users got denied.
Pause again.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
We can hear.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you now.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. So I was trying to demo in this particular single document perspective. You can see I have the view of saying one user has viewed this document, 3 users got denied, and what are the activity history. This particular demonstration can be done, or view can be done on list perspective, saying who are the people viewed this document, who got denied, or if you are a, let's say, multinational company having offices around the world, so you can go to the map view and see from the map perspective who got access to this document. So you can say there is one person from Sri Lanka and the 3 users got denied from USA. Actually, it's not the user account, but it's Microsoft Online Service. But the idea is in this scenario, you will be able to see very detailed perspective of who got access. Now, the important message I want to give under this scenario, assuming this document got leaked, if you find out there is increased number of denied access showing in this document properties, then you can go to the map or the timeline, whatever the scenario, you can find out, okay, there's some suspicious activity happening. Then you can take the decision as the owner to revoke this access to this document. So apart from the owner, everyone else will get revoke access. So one way to make sure, the cool thing in this scenario is you have the control even though the document is outside your security boundary. So it's a very powerful solution. With there's a saying called, with great power comes great responsibility. So in actual deployment of Azure information protection, the biggest challenge that we face is that companies have not defined their policies in place properly. If you don't have defined the policies, implementing information protection would be kind of like a challenging within the timeline. So make sure you help that customer, first of all, define the company policies properly, and then identify what are the important data, because we don't want information protection to be deployed for every scenario. So that being said, that the other option that I like to come back to the data center perspective, Azure Security Center. Now, Azure Security Center is already demonstrated by Faisal in the beginning. So I really don't want to go into detail level, but let me say high level. Think about this is as a virtual CSO. So in this tool, you would be able to get an insight across your data center. It can be on-premise, it can be multi-cloud even. Earlier, it was only focusing on Azure, but now this has been expanded into on-premise. As long as you put a gateway, install agents, you can connect those machines and send the telemetry data to this portal. So these scenarios earlier demonstrated by Faisal, so I didn't want to go in detail, just showing very high level. You can monitor your various aspects of the data center. So being said that, let me go quickly back to one of the important one I really want to highlight today, cloud app security. Now, all those scenarios of data center is for system administrators fine, but the biggest challenge, what we see, when you have plethora of devices and applications spread across around the world in multiple data centers, how a security administrator or the business owner can see what's going on with my data around the world. So this is where actually the cloud app security come to the picture of combining all those logs, telemetry data from Azure Active Directory perspective, and from the M365 perspective and your third-party applications all combined together in one vicinity dashboard. And sometimes you might research on in the search engines typing, let's say, shadow IT. This is what exactly this solution try to address. Because when you go away from your office mode and then let the people work from outside and access your company data, sometimes you have no idea what kind of application they are using in order to access the data. The intention can be good one, but at the same time, that will actually pose a security threat to your organization. So cloud app security is one solution where we address this challenge. Let me quickly see if I can demo that one to you as well. So all the labs, unfortunately, previously prepared has been impacted due to that sudden restart. Let's see if I can demo this one quickly for you all. So what I'm showing at the moment is live environment in front office, our actual cloud app security environment. So I'm not allowed to do much of a changes in this scenario, but few things I want to bring down. This is all about showing you the information about the M365 platform in the left-hand side. You can see all the application you can think about from the Microsoft side is there. And apart from that, you can see the third-party applications also we have integrated. How we do that one is, if I go to settings, app connectors, right now we have connected with Office 365, Microsoft Azure. Here we have a connection error, but you can actually go ahead and connect it to the other application. You can see the G Suite, Google Cloud Platform, and then suggested more apps option is there. So you can connect to those environment and get the telemetry data onto a central platform, which is really time saving. Because for a security administrator, the biggest problem is he doesn't have the time to keep on reading all the logs and then build up a map on his mind how these security attacks are lurking in his environment. This is actually going to give you the more vicinity. And if you really want to go a little bit more in advanced mode, then you have the Azure Sentinel, which has been demonstrated previously. So I like to call this one as the Microsoft Security Icing layer, because all those informations are demonstrated to you on a very nice user initiative method. So you can see the top users onto the priority list, who's getting attacked or suspect, and what are the logins happening around the world to your data center. Now, we actually saved or got interested from one customer, why he adapted very quickly, nothing else, because of this activity map. They able to see when we demonstrated this one by running a trial, they got to know, okay, there are certain logins are actually happening in South Africa. But their problem is, even though they are a company who has multinational, they have never established any office or any business activity on South Africa. So they were very keen quickly. They want to say, okay, who's accessing South Africa in that situation? So what we demo is we click that icon, and then it will actually take you to the detail level, showing the particular user, IP address, from what kind of a device, all those information, which is very useful. I'm not going to say these informations are not available for you on the logs. You have, but the problem is correlating those logs and try to show a meaningful information very quickly. It's tough for the security administrator to do. So that's why we believe this is an ideal tool for organization and for the security engineer as well, getting all those combined together. And we said that one, due to my limited time, I won't be able to go much deeper. But if I go to the discovered apps, now more than, if I'm correct, 26,000, if I'm correct, pardon me if I'm wrong in there, applications are supported. We will be able to see their security status as well. Let me show one interesting thing. If I go to apps and open one of the controversial story created app, Zoom. So you can see for the Zoom, Microsoft giving security score 7. Why 7? If you look at it very closely, and I don't believe this is going to be, just for the competitor's sake, we are updating like that. If you look carefully, these are the challenges why they're given a less score. From a compliance perspective, these challenges are there in the application. So these things are getting updated as well. I just want to update that one. So this score 7 can be changed as soon as Zoom updated those information, as soon as Microsoft get connected to those data and then telemetry data updated, then these things are getting updated. So based on this particular view, you can decide whether to sanction or unsanction the application. If you feel like this application is not good for your organization, if users are using based on your discovery, you can go ahead and say sanction this application. Or you can create a rule saying if the security score, whatever the ones are below, let's say maybe 6, 7, always block the application. You can create a rule, automated rule. So it will be keep on scanning your environment. If they find those applications on the end users accessing, you can block them. So this is a pretty powerful tool. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go much detail due to the time limitation, but I believe you get the picture. And apart from that, one more thing, let me demo before I end the presentation. If I go to the discovery, if I go to Cloud App Discovery Board, if you really have on-premise firewall, if you think this is only purely cloud, it is not. If you have on-premise firewall, you can actually integrate it on-premise firewall as well by bringing those logs to the Cloud App Security Caspi Broker screen and then combine them together, and then you can give a complete vicinity of end user activity and end machines activities as well. So this is pretty cool. I think what is the advanced version of that one, going more into the, if you really want to go more than that SIEM level solution, that is where Sentinel is coming to the picture. So coming back to my presentation deck, so I really want to highlight from all the angles, from the end user perspective, where we should be think about giving the flexibility and the tools, same time from the business owner's perspective, where we should think about the security. And for the reference's sake, since we are sharing this slide deck, I have given certain URLs, which is very important for you to go ahead and read. And at the same time, please remember, I think even Nilesh also highlighted, there are labs available. It's not about reading all the time. You should get your hands dirty. So go ahead then to the Microsoft Demo Labs environments and then the online labs. Get your hands dirty on these technologies, because these things are keep on changing all the time. It's not that you can read a document and say that you know something, unless when you go to the demo lab, you might find the interface is totally different. So keep it up to date, guys. So being said that, now it's your part. You have to go into the action. So appreciate if you can give the feedback. So it will be really valuable for us to improve this online session, because this is the first our online session happening on the global bootcamp. So being said that, that's all from my side. If there's any questions, I would be glad to answer them now. Okay, so if I go back to